Welcome back to the Metabolic Compass podcast, where we help you recalibrate your biology and rediscover your direction. I'm your host, Brandon Soika. Today, we're going to talk about aging, but not the kind of aging that starts with a gray hair or a sore back. This is about the deep cellular shifts that begin long before most people realize, and why they might already be affecting you, even if you're in your 20s, 30s, or 40s. Because here's the truth. Aging isn't just something that happens with time. It's something that happens with misalignment. And the earlier we catch the signs, the more we can do about it. In this episode, I'll walk you through the 12 hallmarks of aging, the biological processes that drive fatigue, inflammation, hormone imbalance, gut dysfunction, and more. We'll also reframe them through the lens of the compass, so you can finally understand where your body is drifting and where to start your recalibration. Let's get into it. Let me tell you about Sam. Sam is 38. He works out 5 days a week, eats clean, gets his annual checkup, and on paper, he's healthy. His doctors say his labs are within a normal range. But here's the thing. He's exhausted by 3 p.m. His joints ache after workouts that used to energize him. His gut is temperamental, fine some days, bloated and reactive on others. He doesn't bounce back like he used to, and deep down, he feels like something's off. The strange part, he's not sick, but he's not thriving either. And that, right there, is where this episode begins. Because what Sam is experiencing isn't burnout, it's not stress, and it's not getting older in the way we've been taught to think of it. It's aging at the cellular level. But not the kind of aging that happens when you retire or qualify for Medicare. This is biological aging, the invisible kind that happens beneath the surface. The kind that starts years, sometimes decades, before the symptoms stack up. And if you're listening to this podcast, there's a good chance you've felt it too. We need to talk about what aging really is. Most of us were taught that aging means wrinkles, gray hair, and maybe some memory issues in your 70s. That it's this slow slide into decline that begins around retirement and then speeds up over time. But that's not the truth. Aging isn't just about getting older. It's about how well your systems are functioning, regardless of your actual age. In fact, research now shows that biological aging and chronological age can be wildly different. You can be 45 with the cellular health of someone who's 60, or 60 with the biological youth of someone in their 40s. So what determines this difference? That's what this episode is about. There are 12 key processes, scientifically validated, peer-reviewed, and cross-species conserved that explain how and why we age. They're called the hallmarks of aging. But here's the twist most people miss. These hallmarks don't suddenly appear when you hit 65. They begin to drift early. And if you know how to spot the early signs, you can slow them down. Sometimes you can even reverse them. Let me paint this in a real life. That brain fog that creeps in after lunch, that's not just low blood sugar. It could be impaired mitochondrial signaling or intercellular communication breakdown. The slower recovery after workouts, that might be your stem cells running low or senescent cells clogging your repair pathways. Your gut becoming more reactive over time, that could be linked to immune system aging, chronic low-grade inflammation, and shifts in your microbiome diversity. What we call normal aging symptoms in our 40s and 50s are often just early warning signs of hallmarks already drifting out of sync. And the earlier we intervene, the more leverage we have. Because contrary to popular belief, aging is not inevitable decline. It's a direction. And direction can be changed. Now, here's the exciting part, and the reason I created the Metabolic Compass in the first place. We don't have to wait until we're broken to start fixing things. We can catch these patterns early, we can track the drift, and we can course correct. But to do that, we need a new lens. That's what the next segment is all about. So if aging starts earlier than we thought, what exactly is going on? In our next segment, we'll break down the 12 hallmarks, what they are, what they explain, and how they silently shape everything from your gut to your skin to your energy. This isn't just science, it's the roadmap to changing your trajectory. Let's take a moment to get grounded in science. In 2013, a team of world-renowned researchers published a landmark paper titled The Hallmarks of Aging. This paper didn't just catalog what aging looks like, it explained why it happens. What they laid out were originally 9, now 12 interconnected biological processes that begin to drift as we age. And here's the most important part. These hallmarks don't wait for your 70s. They begin in your 30s, sometimes even earlier. If you've ever wondered why your energy dropped even though your habits didn't change, or why your digestion started misfiring out of nowhere, or why your skin started thinning, your muscles stopped responding to training, or your immune system became unpredictable, there's a hallmark for that. Each of these 12 processes, when thrown off, begin to a ripple effect that can make you feel like your body is betraying you. But in reality, it's simply adapting to dysfunction. Let's walk through them in plain English. You don't need a PhD to understand these, just a little curiosity and the right metaphors. So the first of the 12 is genomic instability. Think of your DNA like a blueprint. Over time, that blueprint accumulates typos from toxins, stress, and normal wear. When too many errors pile up, your cells start misreading instructions and dysfunction follows. The next is telomere attrition. Telomeres are the protective caps at the ends of your chromosomes. Every time your cells divide, those caps get shorter. When they get too short, your cells can't divide properly, and aging speeds up. Third, epigenetic alterations. If DNA is the script, epigenetics are the stage directions. Aging disrupts those instructions, turning off helpful genes and turning on harmful ones. It's not just what you're born with, but how your environment and lifestyle reads your genes. 4. Loss of proteostasis. Your body is constantly building, folding, and recycling proteins. When this quality control system breaks down, proteins misfold or clump together, contributing to fatigue, inflammation, and even neurodegenerative diseases. 5. Deregulated nutrient sensing. Your body is wired to detect fuel. But when nutrient signaling goes haywire, like with chronic overeating or undereating, it disrupts everything from insulin to autophagy. This is a huge player in obesity, diabetes, and early fatigue. Mitochondrial dysfunction. These are your cell's power plants. When they falter, everything slows down. Energy production drops, inflammation rises, and you start feeling like your battery never quite recharges. 7. Cellular senescence. Some cells get damaged beyond repair, but instead of dying, they go into zombie mode. They stop functioning but start secreting inflammatory signals, making the cells around them worse. It's like a bad apple spoiling the entire bunch. Stem cell exhaustion. Your stem cells are your regeneration reserve. When they get depleted, either from overuse or lack of support, you can't heal, rebuild, or recover efficiently. Think brittle hair, slow injury repair, and muscle loss. 9. Altered intercellular communication. Cells are always talking. Aging introduces static to the signal, your immune system gets confused, hormones lose their rhythm, and systems that should coordinate instead now compete. 10. Disabled macroautophagy. Autophagy is your body's cellular cleanup crew. It recycles damaged parts and clears debris. When it slows, waste builds up and aging accelerates from the inside out. Chronic inflammation. Often called inflammaging, this is your body stuck in a low-grade fight it never turns off. It's subtle but relentless, damaging tissues, disrupting metabolism, and exhausting your immune reserves. And the last one, dysbiosis. Your gut isn't just digestion, it's immune control, hormone balance, and inflammation regulation. When your microbial community falls out of balance, it affects your entire body. Now here's the kicker. You don't experience these hallmarks one at a time. They layer, they loop, and they're interconnected in ways we've underestimated for decades. This is why a person with gut issues often also experiences brain fog. why fatigue, hormone imbalances, and poor sleep tend to cluster, why aging doesn't feel like one big change, but 1,000 subtle shifts over time. The good news? When you understand these patterns, you can intervene early, sometimes before you ever got a diagnosis. That's what the next segment is all about. So now that you understand the 12 hallmarks at a high level, how do they fit into the compass? In the next segment, we'll reframe them through the lens of the 4 compass domains so you can finally connect your symptoms to a specific direction of drift. This is where things start to click. You now understand what the 12 hallmarks of aging are, but the bigger question is, what do you do with that knowledge? If you stop at the surface, all you have is another list. If you go deeper, if you start to map those patterns, you begin to see what almost no one in healthcare is talking about, that aging isn't random. It's directional, and direction is everything. This is why I created the Metabolic Compass, to give you a clear, actionable framework that doesn't just explain what's happening inside you, but where it's happening and why. Because the hallmarks don't exist in silos. They interact, they stack, and most importantly, they tend to cluster within specific domains of biological function. That's where the compass comes in. Let's walk through how each domain holds its own constellation of hallmarks, so you can finally understand where your body is drifting and what it's really asking for. Let's start with nurture, your baseline of safety. The nurture domain is your biological foundation. It governs gut health, immune regulation, and cellular integrity. When this domain drifts, the body begins to lose its sense of internal safety. The hallmark that cluster here is genomics instability. DNA damage accumulates, often triggered by oxidative stress, toxins, and chronic immune activation. Chronic inflammation, your immune system gets stuck in fight mode, quietly damaging tissues over time. And dysbiosis, your gut loses microbial diversity, weakening your first line of defense. When nurture falters, you don't just get bloated and inflamed, you lose resilience at the root. This is where many people first start to drift, especially after trauma, infections, or long-term stress. Energize, the domain of fuel and flow. The Energize domain is your internal engine. It powers everything from movement to memory, from hormone functions to cellular repair. When this domain falters, the lights start to dim, even if your labs say you're fine. The hallmarks here include loss of proteostasis, damaged proteins accumulate, jamming up your cellular machinery, deregulated nutrient sensing. Your body misinterprets fuel availability, leading to blood sugar crashes and metabolic confusion, and mitochondrial dysfunction. Energy production tanks while oxidative stress surges. This domain explains why you can feel exhausted even with a good night's sleep, why you might feel foggy despite eating clean, and why your motivation evaporates when your mitochondria stall. Strengthen, capacity, repair, and resilience. Strengthen is your domain of regeneration. It's about maintaining the physical architecture of your body, muscle, bone, skin, joints, and connective tissue. But it's not just structure. It's your capacity to bounce back. These hallmarks define the strengthened domain. Telomere attrition. Cells lose the ability to divide, limiting tissue renewal. Cellular senescence. Dysfunctional cells stick around and fuel further breakdown. And stem cell exhaustion. Your repair reserves begin to run dry. When strengthen is drifting, you'll feel it in your recovery time, your joint stability, your aging skin, or you struggle just to gain lean mass. But these aren't signs of failure. They're signs of an overwhelmed repair system. Lastly, let's describe withdrawal. Withdrawal, the art of letting go. Withdrawal is the least understood, but arguably the most misunderstood domain in health. It's where your body clears clutter, recalibrates gene expression, and tunes back into rhythm. This is the domain of cleanup, downregulation, and biological refinement. The hallmarks that live here are epigenetic alterations. The wrong genes get switched on or off based on a disrupted environment. Altered intercellular communication. The body loses its ability to coordinate immune, endocrine, and neurological systems. And disabled macroautophagy. Cellular waste isn't recycled, which gums up the system from the inside out. If you feel wired but tired, overwhelmed by input, or like you're holding on to stress your body doesn't know how to release, this is the domain that's asking for attention. When you start to see your symptoms this way, not as random noise, but as directional signals, everything shifts. You stop guessing. You stop chasing. You stop patching one system while another continues to erode. This model gives you the power to sequence your healing with strategy, not desperation. Because what you need isn't always more willpower or a stricter plan. It's the right direction at the right time. And that's exactly what we'll talk about in the next segment. Coming up next, we'll explore the most overlooked part of healing, sequencing. Why where you start matters more than how hard you go, and how most people make progress harder by pushing in the wrong direction. Let's clear something up right now. Aging is not just something that starts at 65. It doesn't wait until you retire. It doesn't suddenly flip a switch when you hit a certain birthday. Aging is a process, not a number. And that process begins much earlier than most of us realize. The biology of aging doesn't start when the wrinkles appear. It starts when the body begins to lose coordination, when the internal repair systems can't keep pace with the damage. Sometimes that starts in your 40s. But for many people today, it's happening in their 30s, even their 20s. We're talking about decades before disease is ever diagnosed. The myth of you're too young for that. How many times have you been told that's just part of getting older? Or worse, you're too young to be tired all the time. You're too young to feel this stiff. You're too young to be anxious, bloated, or foggy. But your body doesn't care how many candles are on your cake. It's tracking one thing: biological load. That includes your nutrition, your sleep, your emotional stress, your environmental exposures, your gut health, and more. Every one of those inputs either strengthens your repair systems or strains them. So even if you're 28 years old, if your mitochondria are underperforming, your gut barrier is inflamed, and your cells aren't recycling waste, you're already aging faster than you should be. And the signs are there, if you know how to read them. Early signals you might be missing. Let's paint a picture. You're not in pain, you're not sick, but something just feels off. You wake up groggy even after 8 hours. Your skin's starting to look thinner or duller. You bruise easier, recover slower from workouts, or you can't build muscle like you used to. You're more sensitive to foods that never used to bother you. You crash after meals. Your cycle is changing. Your sleep feels fragmented, or your hair is thinning in ways you chalk up to stress. Individually, these signs seem small, but together, they tell a story of biological systems beginning to drift. These are the first whispers of hallmark dysfunction. It's genomic instability showing up as an unexplained fatigue. It's loss of proteostasis showing up as a puffy face or stubborn inflammation. It's mitochondrial dysfunction whispering through sugar cravings and mood crashes. It's stem cell exhaustion hiding in the slow healing of a joint tweak that lingers too long. You don't have a diagnosis, but you do have data. Your body is talking. Most of us just haven't been taught how to listen. Aging is accelerating earlier for this generation. There's another uncomfortable truth we need to talk about. We are the first generation that's aging faster than our parents, despite more access to health information, more supplements, more tech, and more interventions. Why? Because the inputs have changed. Our food is more processed, our gut microbiomes are more fragile, our stress is chronic and invisible. Our environment is loaded with synthetic exposures our detox systems were never designed for. And our downtime? Replaced with endless digital stimulation and metabolic chaos. It's not your fault, but it is your responsibility. Because even if you've been doing everything right, if your biology is drifting in the wrong sequence, you'll still stay stuck. The earlier you intervene, the slower you age. Here's the good news. These early signs aren't just symptoms, they're invitations. They're your body asking for recalibration, not punishment. If you catch these shifts early, you can prevent the cascade. You can slow the epigenetic erosion. You can restore proteostasis. You can rebuild mitochondrial function. You can replenish stem cells, not with magic pills, but with precision, with sequencing, with the right intervention at the right time in the right domain. Aging isn't an inevitable slide into dysfunction. It's a biological negotiation, and you're allowed to re-enter the conversation. In the next segment, we'll compare this approach to the noise of the anti-aging world and show you why most popular interventions miss the mark completely, because your biology doesn't need another trend. It needs strategy. Coming up next, we're diving into why the Compass and Hallmark model works better than almost every anti-aging trend out there, from NAD+ boosters to collagen powders, and how the secret isn't in the supplement, it's in the sequence. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. The anti-aging world is booming. $67 billion a year booming. But if you've dipped your toes in it, you've probably felt the same frustration I've had. For all the hype, why do most anti-aging interventions feel like they don't stick? You try NAD+ patches, peptides, collagen powders, IV therapy, red light therapy, and for a few days, maybe even a couple weeks, something shifts. You feel sharper, your skin glows, your workouts feel smoother, then it plateaus. Or worse, your body rebounds. You crash, you feel inflamed, your digestion stalls, your sleep tanks, and you're left wondering, what did I do wrong? The answer? Nothing, except for one thing. You started in the middle of the map instead of at the beginning. One of the problems with trends is that they bypass sequence. Most anti-aging trends are like putting a turbocharger on a rusty engine. Yes, NAD+ is essential. Yes, collagen is critical. Yes, peptide therapy is powerful. But none of them work sustainably if your system is still inflamed, underfueled, or directionally confused. Imagine dumping gasoline into a car that's still stuck in park, or trying to upgrade a computer running on corrupted software. This is what happens when you chase stimulation instead of stability. And the industry doesn't help. We've been sold a narrative that youth and vitality can be bought in a bottle, a clinic, or a protocol. But real longevity isn't about short bursts of better. It's about consistent, layered coordination between systems that evolve together. So why does the Metabolic Compass work? Systems first and stimulation later? The Metabolic Compass flips the script. Instead of saying, here's what's trending, it asks, where is your biology right now, and what does it need first? Maybe your gut and immune system are still in defense mode. That's nurture. Maybe your mitochondria can't generate clean energy. That's energize. Maybe your tissues aren't healing. That's strengthen. Or maybe your cells can't clear waste or let go of trauma. That's withdraw. Only when you know your direction can you decide the next step. That's why this isn't a grab bag of biohacks. It's a framework based on the 12 hallmarks of aging and their root level domains. Each intervention is matched to the biological phases you're in. So instead of guessing, you're calibrating. That's what makes the results stick. And that's why people who follow this model don't just feel better for a weekend, they change the trajectory of their health for years. One of the things is trends chase symptoms. The compass corrects direction. Let's be honest. Most trends are designed to sell you the illusion of control. You're tired, take a nootropic. Your skin's dull, buy a retinol. Your gut's off, grab a probiotic and hope it helps. But without a unifying framework, these are just shots in the dark. Even if they help, they don't sustain because they're not working with your biology's current priorities. The compass doesn't ask, what's the fastest fix? It asks, what's the right fix for this moment in your biology? That's the difference between hacking and healing, between chasing and coordinating. This is why we've built season 1 around more than just inspiration. We're walking you through each of the 12 hallmarks of aging, one per episode, so you can recognize the early signs, understand the science, and know how to intervene. We're starting with genomic instability in the next episode, because when your DNA starts to fray, it sends ripple effects across every other system. But we're not stopping there. We're exploring inflammation, mitochondrial dysfunction, nutrient sensing, stem cell exhaustion, and the rest, each mapped to the compass and made practical for real life. Because you don't need another trend. You need a compass that adapts to you. Now that you understand why sequence matters more than trends, it's time to bring this home to your body, your life, your biology. Because theory is only power if you can apply it. So let's figure out where you are in the process right now. With what if the symptoms you've been ignoring were actually your compass pointing you towards the hallmarks that need your attention most? This is where the compass shifts from concept to clarity, because now it's not about theory anymore. It's about you. Let's pause. Forget the lab tests for a second. Forget the data dashboards and the supplements in your cabinet. Ask yourself one question. How does your body feel today? Not how it looks, not how you think it should be functioning, but how it actually feels, in motion, in rest, in silence. That feeling, that biological undercurrent, is trying to tell you where your hallmarks may be drifting. And the earlier you heal that signal, the easier it is to recalibrate. So let's start with nurture. If you're constantly inflamed, puffy, reactive, foods feel like landmines, and your skin feels like it's always on edge, this isn't just a sensitivity. This is likely a drift in the nurture domain. The hallmarks clustered here, genomic instability, chronic inflammation, and dysbiosis, are the body's foundational safety systems. Maybe your immune system is in defense mode all the time. Maybe your gut lining is compromised. Maybe your microbial diversity is shrinking. And instead of calm, your system is coded for threat. If this is you, you might feel easily irritated physically and emotionally, bloating or digestive discomfort, skin breakouts or rashes, brain fog that flares with food, heightened anxiety or reactivity. You're not too sensitive. Your biology is trying to protect you. It's over-indexed on defense and is asking for nurture. Then there's Energize. You know, the kind of tire that sleep doesn't fix? That's the hallmark of Energize drift, where the primary systems responsible for cellular function and clear fuel production are misfiring. This cluster, loss of proteostasis, deregulated nutrient sensing, and mitochondrial dysfunction, is the metabolic engine. When it slips, everything slows. You might be eating well, even working out, and still feel like your body is running on empty. Common signs? You crash after meals, you crave sugar or caffeine, you can't build lean muscle or sustain energy output. You feel wired and tired at night. Your recovery from workouts or stress feels delayed. This isn't laziness or burnout. It's energetic chaos, and your cells are waving a white flag. Now, maybe it's strengthened. Do you feel like your body just doesn't bounce back anymore? That tweak in your back that lingers, the joint that feel a little too stiff? The sense that your grip strength, muscle mass, or resilience just isn't what it used to be, even if you're still showing up. This is a common strength drift, and it's anchored in the hallmarks of telomere attrition, cellular senescence, and stem cell exhaustion. When these systems break down, your ability to regenerate breaks with them. Now, your signs may include lingering injuries, reduced muscle tone or definition, lower physical resilience, weakness during daily tasks, accelerated graying or skin thinning. You might feel older than your age, not because of time, but because of regenerative collapse. Or lastly, are you stuck in withdrawal? Finally, some of you might feel overstimulated and emotionally numb. You're checking out, not because you want to, but because your system is overwhelmed. This is extremely common with withdrawal. And with And when epigenetic alterations, altered intercellular communication, and disabled macroautophagy go unchecked, you lose the ability to coordinate cellular renewal and emotional regulation. Symptoms here might look like emotional flatness or disconnection, poor stress recovery, frequent overwhelm, insomnia or unrefreshing sleep, or a sense of what's the point? This is where shutdown begins. Not because you've given up, but because your cells have gone silent. And now they're asking to be heard. So let's start with the signals, then layer in the data. Here's the point. You don't need a full body MRI to know that something's off. You just need a framework that helps you interpret the story your biology is already telling you. And that's exactly why we created the Hallmarks of Aging checklist. It's simple, it's free, and it's designed to help you identify which domain is most likely drifting before dysfunction turns to disease. When you can name the direction, you can begin to navigate it. Because healing isn't about doing everything, it's about doing the right thing first. So in our final segment, we'll shift from biology to belief and reflect on the mindset shift that reframes aging from a burden into a dialogue. Because when you stop fighting time and start guiding biology, everything changes. If you made it this far, take a breath. Really. Pause for a second. Inhale through your nose. Hold it. Exhale slow. Then that breath you just took, it required DNA to be read, protein to be folded, mitochondria to fire, inflammation to stay in check, and stem cells to stay resilient. That single breath was a symphony of all 12 hallmarks of aging. You're not separate from these systems. You are these systems. And that means you have more influence than you've been told. You're not fighting time, you're guiding biology. We've inherited a view of aging that feels like slow erosion. The story goes, first it's your energy, then your skin, then your joints, then your brain, and eventually you just accept it. But that story is broken because biology doesn't age out of spite. It ages based on environment, demand, repair, and coordination. Most of what we think of as aging isn't the passage of time. It's the accumulation of unmet needs. And the reason symptoms show up isn't because your body is betraying you. It's because it's asking you something, sometimes screaming at you for a shift in direction. Aging is not punishment, it's feedback. And that feedback, when understood through the compass, becomes direction. Maybe you felt like your health is a personal failure. Like your fatigue means you're lazy. Like your pain means you're weak. Like your fog, bloat, weight gain, or mood swings are things to hide. But those are just your hallmarks raising their hands. It's not your fault that no one ever taught you how to read them. It's not your fault the wellness world told you to hack instead of listen. But now that you know that there's a language to this, now that you understand the compass, you're no longer in the dark. You can stop chasing symptoms, you can stop starting over, and you can stop thinking you're broken. You're not broken. You're misaligned. So the real question isn't, what's wrong with me? It's, where am I drifting? And what's the next right step? Because when you know the direction, you can take small daily actions that create exponential returns. Not quick fixes, but deep biological shifts. You can choose safety instead of defense, fuel instead of fatigue, regeneration instead of regression, and clarity instead of shutdown. Every choice you make, every bite of food, every hour of sleep, every supplement, breath, walk, or moment of stillness can now be understood in context. No more guessing, no more overwhelm, just direction. Next week, we begin our deep dive, not with a molecule or a lab marker, but with the most important signal your body ever sends. And that signal is, am I safe? That question is asked before digestion, before hormone balance, before mitochondrial function or mental clarity. Because if your biology doesn't feel safe, it won't behave in a way that promotes healing. We'll explore why the gut-brain immune axis is your true foundation, why unresolved stress, past trauma, And even your microbial diversity can hijack your system's sense of safety. And how the nurture domain sets the tone for every other compass direction. This isn't about mindfulness, it's about molecular reality. Because your symptoms aren't random, they're signals. And the sooner we understood what they're saying, the sooner we can restore your baseline and build from there. Before we wrap, make sure you've downloaded the free Hallmarks of Aging checklist at our website. It's your first step towards decoding your own biology before the warning signs become diagnosis. You've been listening to the Metabolic Compass podcast, where we bridge cutting-edge science with real-life application to help you reclaim your health one directional shift at a time. To learn more, visit us at www.themetaboliccompass.com or follow us on Instagram and TikTok at The Metabolic Compass. And if you haven't already, leave a review. It helps others find their way back to alignment too. Recalibrate your biology, rediscover your direction.